Nowadays, becoming an artist seems totally impossible between programs, tools, courses, and school community that cost a fortune. You also feel like you need natural born talent and countless of hours of practice just to create something worthwhile. It's difficult, it's costly, and most people give up before they even start. But imagine, just imagine, creating beautiful pieces of professional art using only stock images and Photoshop effects. This time, I'm showing you a guaranteed way to move from simple images to a piece of art in just 3 simple steps. Well, if you don't know me, I'm Angelo. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I help you create complex art style and effects in simple and free ways using Photoshop. So it starts with step number 1. I usually start by setting up the foundation, building the composition. As you can see here, I put together a simple scene with few basic shots just to make it look a little less like an abomination. Once the composition is set, I make sure to separate my main objects and group them together. This keeps things organized and gives me more freedom to edit each part separately later on. Step 2. Usually, every different art style consists of different colors, shapes, and outlines. If you could just analyze the making of a style, you can realistically recreate any piece of art you can find. So here, I started with the sky, where I always duplicate the layer so I can bring back the detail or fix the mistakes if I ever wanted to. Then, I add the most important effect in the whole process, which is the filter gallery cutout filter. But as you can see, the filter is not perfect. You just have to fix it manually. First, I started with lowering the clarity to make the clouds softer, and then I sharpened the image while also reducing the image noise. After that, I started fixing the coloring using the paint bucket tool for a faster process. Then I simply added some box blur to fix the artifacts and gently blend the clouds. Next, I worked a little bit on the coloring where I boosted the cyan, which is in my opinion makes the sky at least 10 times more appealing for some reason. I started fixing the small problem using the blending tool to fix the edges and the blending. Then I add the accented edges filter, which gives a slight glow to the edges. You don't really have to add this, but it kinda look good. Now that we're finished with the sky, I moved on to the foreground, where I simply separated the layer to give me more freedom to edit. Then, to no surprise, I added the cutout filter yet again. I also debated on adding the angle stroke. In the end, I went on without it. I also added the oil paint filter, which is very important for smoothing things out and getting rid of the jagged edges. And yet again, I started fixing the mistakes from the cutout filter. I added some grass using the grass brush I downloaded from Brush Easy. And then, using the round brush as a blending tool with a very high strength, I started making some stroke. A general piece of advice: always make sure to drag toward the grass direction for the best result. If not, you'll just end up having a messy and a muddy result. After finishing, I decrease the opacity of the layer to show the details from the original layer. Then I slightly went on a side tangent where I made some edges using the fine edges effect, and I changed the color and the sharpening using the camera raw. After that, I simply changed the blending mode and lowered the opacity. You can add the edges or not, it's totally optional. After that, I moved on to the trees, where I simply lowered the texture and added oil paints. After finishing that, I moved towards the dragon. I began working on the head, dropping the clarity and texture slightly because that helps break the realistic elements and make it more stylized. Then I started adjusting the colors where I opted for a red, pinkish color, dropped the saturation slightly, boosted the sharpness. I just repeated the same thing for the body. Then I started making the head more stylized. The plan was to try and make the head into big shapes so I can drop the opacity and have both the shapes and textures. After that, I started blending slightly so there won't be any hard edges. Then I moved on to one of the most useful tools any artist should master, which is the liquify tool. This is so powerful that it helps save a lot and a lot of my artwork simply by adjusting the angle and the silhouette. So I was trying to change the perspective on the head so better match the body. Now moving on to the main character. Yes, I'm talking about you. Have you subscribed yet? If not, So, on the main character, I simply add a new layer, clip it to the character, and then I simply pick the color from the highlight and paint over them. Then I do the exact same thing for the midtone. I usually use the blend depth to bring back the shadows. I simply blend between the two. You can add gradients to make the art infinitely more interesting. Then just drop the opacity as far as you like to make it look better. I also like to add subsurface scattering by adding a reddish color on the overlay blending mode and adjusting the opacity. Now for the swans or whatever these things are, I simply brought down the texture and boosted the sharpness, then I went back to the dragon where I started masking out the feet. Step number 3. And now for the last and most fun step in my opinion, post-processing. It's so important because it can make or break any art, so make sure to do as much testing as you can. For me, I started by adding a third strip color lookup to brighten up and boost the saturation. I also added a soft warming to soften the image. Then I started liquifying. When using liquifying, make sure to use small dabs so you don't break the image. Then I adjusted the colors using Camera Raw. Now I started working on the shadows. Honestly, I should have done this way before, but for me, it's no different. They will look the same. Then I started adding some leaves. I found objects like this crucial to represent the depth I'm trying to achieve, and they also look very cool. So I added a couple and gave them some shadows. After that, I added some clouds as well and adjusted the perspective. Finally, I added some grains, glows, embers, and stars. This is my final results. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.